and the Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Boston. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatteberg's a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the wall. Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Win. Line to the right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Well, Nick, look, not every production is going to be perfect, okay? You know, sometimes you just got to make do with what you have. We didn't get a chance to watch the 9th inning together. We apologize to everybody in chat. We know that's your favorite part, is watching Nick and I not synced up, trying to act like we're following the game together, when in reality, we're just behind the scenes trying to get this show ready for you and everybody else. So, listen, it's midnight now on the East Coast, or just before it. We got 420 people watching already. We really do appreciate you guys tuning in late night in this series. So let's get into it, Nick. How we doing, my friend? I know a little stressful there to start the stream, but everything okay now? We feeling good? You can hear me. The chat can hear me.
Feeling
all good.
We did that first show, and Craig, I was like terrified. I was like, I'm going to screw this up, and it went so well. And I think I got a full sense of confidence that I had this going forward, when I clearly did not. Oh well. Next time, you know what? We are not muting. When that graphic pops up, you're going to hear whatever's in the background, because it was all ready to go, ready to rock and roll. We're never muting again, Craig.
Absolutely. I'm okay with it. I have a little mute right here. Turn it off. We have mute.
Don't do
it. We have
triggered,
mute
man. I'm
control on our
triggered from
screen. Listen, man. Everything's great. Nobody knew any different. It's not like anybody watches the show anyway, Nick. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. We're all good. But hey, the most important thing, the Reds picked up another win in San Francisco. 1-0 your final. Nick Lodolo continuing his excellent start to the season. We'll get into all that first, but Nick, immediate reaction to the game. How we feeling? And what'd you think? Series win in San Francisco.
Yeah, first series win, first win streak, first everything, it feels like, Craig. Last week, you say that, hey, the starting pitching is really good. It's going to keep the team in the game. And everyone's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They can't hit. Well, it mattered the last 2 days, and I don't know how much it'll matter over the course of the year. Yes, the offense has to be better. But, man, when you have elite starting pitching, you can win a lot of ugly games. And really, the Reds have won 2 pretty ugly games the last 2 days. And, we'll see how this team is able to, kind of continue on. But, man, Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo just threw the team on their backs the last 2 nights. Graham Ashcraft tonight. I mean, just what a performance the last 2 nights. I think someone just added me on Twitter, 30 consecutive scoreless innings. I haven't got a chance to fact check that from the Reds pitching.
Is that right?
I was like, what? It took me a second. Let me see what he said.
Fill us in. What you got?
Now I'm losing it. See, I'm on like 16.
Well, here's what I'll say is that obviously, I mean, I don't know that that's 100% accurate, but I mean, obviously 9 innings tonight, 9 innings last night is 18, but they lost 8-2 to the Brewers on Sunday. So probably not 30 straight, but might be up there. Either way, obviously high quality performance from the Reds pitching. We knew the starting pitching was going to be one of the highlights of this team, or we thought at least was going to be one of the highlights of this team so far early on in the season, proving to be true. And I got to be honest with you, Nick, after those 3 straight 1-0 losses, it's kind of nice to get one back and win 1-0 and earn one for that pitching staff, who really deserves for their record to be much better than it is. The Reds now sitting at 5-7 on the season. Three of those wins now against the Giants, and that's the Giants' only 3 losses on the season. So really interesting to see how this is played out, but nonetheless, really exciting game today, and pitching really came through. Let's go ahead and break it down for you in the box score recap, Nick. Let's get after it. After ending the Giants win streak at 7 games, the Reds were back at it Tuesday night in San Francisco for Game 2 of a 3-game set. Nick Lodolo took the mound for the Reds, facing off with Landen Roupp and the Giants. Spencer Steer led off the third with a double down the left field line. Then Jake Fraley followed with a screamer up the middle. Steer would score on a ground out by Jose Trevino to Willy Adames, and the Reds would lead 1-0. The duo did it again in the 5th when Steer hit a ground rule double and advanced to third on a bloop single by Fraley. However, a great play by Giants first baseman Sam Huff on a safety squeeze by Trevino cut Steer down at the plate, keeping the score 1-0. Nick Lodolo would go 6 innings of 3-hit, no-run baseball before yielding to Graham Ashcraft, who continued the strong performance with 2 shutout innings of his own. Emilio Pagan would come in and nail down the coffin, and the Reds would take Game 2 of the series by a final score of 1-0. As I mentioned, Nick Lodolo, 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs. Graham Ashcraft, 2 innings of 1-hit baseball. Emilio Pagan in that 1 inning, only 7 pitches. Gavin Lux, Spencer Steer, and Jake Fraley, each with 2 hits.
All right, Craig, I'm used to going and getting a beverage, but I mean, you're just so efficient these days that I don't know what to do. But our DSC deep drive of the day was Spencer Steer. He had a ground rule double to left field, exit velocity of 93.7, went 357 feet. And as always, our deep drive of the day is sponsored by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader and renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. And, Craig, let's go ahead and jump into some super chats real quick before I hand the reins back over to you. Jim Lafferty, $10. Let's effing go. I love Chatterbox Reds. Hit that like button. Appreciate you, Jim. DK, the Donkey Kong guy, fire me up. Steer and Fraley, LFG. Ned Flanders, flowers for Jake Fraley. And RD711, me, Reds pitching. My wife, Reds hitting. What does that mean?
You know what? I think it's better that we don't try to dissect that one, Nick. I think we just let that one be. We certainly appreciate the super chat, but I have no idea what that means. Maybe it's just because it's midnight. Maybe it's because it was over my head to begin with. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Look, the story of the game, we mentioned it at the top. Story of the game and the story of the past two games is pitching. Nick Lodolo followed up Hunter Greene's outstanding performance last night with a great performance of his own. 6 innings of 3 hit, 3 strikeout baseball, only 1 walk, and that was given up to the first batter of the game. What'd you like from Nick Lodolo tonight, Nick?
He's not walking anyone. He's walked 1 batter in 18 1/3 innings pitched this year. I mean, that's incredible. He hasn't had the flashy strikeout numbers. I don't think. The one thing that's most exciting, Craig, is I don't even feel like Nick Lodolo's necessarily pitched great. Like, I don't think we've seen the best out of Nick Lodolo, but, I mean, these 3 starts have just been ace-like. And it's crazy to say that after you saw what Hunter Greene did last night. I mean, this is what you envision. And, look, it's not going to be like this all year, but this is what you envision. Hunter Greene, number 1, Nick Lodolo, number 2. Man, you get this team into the playoffs, Craig. You have these 2 guys pitching like this. You can actually make some damage. So I'm so fired up about Nick Lodolo. You have to always say it. Just please God, stay healthy. Just please God, stay. It's the same thing as Matt McClain. Because you know these guys are great players. They just have to stay on the field.
You had to say it. And it's accurate. I mean, ultimately, if you can get 25 to 30 starts out of Nick Lodolo this year, I mean, that'll be a career high for him. He hasn't pitched more than 21 starts in a season on his career so far. It's interesting. You mentioned it. He hasn't really had his put away stuff, but and our friend Charlie Goldsmith tweeted about it earlier. He hasn't really been going to his curveball as much as he has in the past. Charlie tweeted out that he's been relying a whole lot on the changeup. And Jose Trevino said it's a good pitch. It has more break than a sinker for sure. Guys see it as a sinker and roll over the top of it. There's a great ground ball rate on it right now. And it's just he's adjusting to who he needs to be as a pitcher. And it's one of those things that I talked about with Alexis Diaz, right, is that eventually there's going to come a time where people are going to stop swinging at these balls that you're throwing a foot outside of the zone because they start to understand what you're about to throw. Nick Lodolo is making that same adjustment right now in my eyes in terms of throwing strikes, and he's not relying on that curveball that he would reliably throw down and in to right-handed batters in the past as his get out pitch. He's getting guys out earlier in the count, which is allowing him again to 91 6 innings pitched. Probably I thought could have gone even farther in the game. I think ultimately ended up with only 87 pitches on the night. Probably could have gone another inning or 2 if needed. But he's getting guys out earlier in the count, which is allowing him to go deeper into games. Something that we saw at Hunter Greene last night, not all about the strikeouts, just trying to get guys out. Nick Lodolo following a similar path. And if he can do that and he can go deeper into games and keep this bullpen rested, and you only need to rely on 1 or 2 guys, it's a much better recipe for success for this Reds team in 2025.
Yeah, I agree completely. Just good stuff out of Nick Lodolo, 0.96 ERA through 3 starts. Man, that's incredible. And now, you turn the ball over to Nick Martinez, and can the Reds just absolutely run a team out of their home building in a 3-game series with pitching? We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw it in the chat. I'm pulling it up now just to confirm. But Cincinnati pitching now on this early year, third in Major League Baseball with a team 2.83 ERA. Pretty crazy to be that low in your team ERA and to be sitting at 5-7. But nonetheless, look, they're 12 games into it. And at this point really feels like their pitching is going to be what has to carry them through.
At least for now.
At least for now, right? But let's talk about that, right? So next on the rundown, Steer and Fraley, 2 hits out of each of them tonight. Spencer Steer really putting some good swings on the baseball, 2 doubles this evening. It really feels like if this Reds offense is going to get going, maybe less so Jake Fraley, but Spencer Steer really needs to be a part of that.
Yeah, Steer's looked pretty good the last several games, so he just kind of feels like he's continuing to get back. Still fascinated to see how do you work a guy back in that hasn't played in a game fielding in, like, I don't know, has he played a game fielding since last year? I don't think he played a spring training game. So I'm fascinated to see how that works, but he's looked a lot better at the plate. Obviously, a great day from Jake Fraley. Incredible catch from Jake Fraley in this game as well. All Jake Fraley needed to do was see Will Benson walk in that door, and he was like, you know what? My MLB life is flashing before my eyes. I'm going to go have the game of my life out here in San Francisco. But no,
that was exactly my thought, too.
Yeah. I mean, like, and I think I said it in our Discord earlier today. I think I said 4 for 4 Jake Fraley game incoming with Will Benson showing up. It's just the most predictable thing ever in baseball. But no, shout out to Jake Fraley. It's been a really tough season. I need to see a lot more out of Jake Fraley. Spencer Steer's kind of in a different category because I think we feel a lot more confident in his baseline right now than we feel with Jake Fraley. And Steer was clearly more health than anything else. But nonetheless, step in the right direction. We'll just kind of wait and see what Fraley turns into. I don't really have any expectations right now for him. Honestly, really one way or the other.
Yeah, look, I mean, that little blue pit that he got in the 5th, not overly impressive, but that base hit he got in the 3rd that he hit right back up the middle felt like vintage Jake Fraley. Took the ball right up through the pitcher's head, basically 105.8 miles per hour at a 7-degree launch angle. I mean, that was it felt in the moment like one of the harder hit balls I'd seen in a while out of this Reds team for sure, and certainly out of Jake Fraley. So exciting to see him kind of take that next step. Obviously got the blue pit in the 5th and then hit the ball hard. I felt like in the 7th, lined out to second base, but nonetheless, I mean, exciting to see those two progress, but the question becomes, and we're going to get into this in the second half in just a moment, is now that the Reds have called up Noelvi Marte and Will Benson, what does the future look like and what are the corresponding moves once they have to pull up Abbott here in a couple of days? So we'll talk about that and all the Reds moves in just a moment. But first, we want to make sure that we take a second and remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health, whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call 988 or text 988. Or visit mantherapy.org to get help. And as a reminder, it's okay not to be okay. And Nick, I'm sure you know this, but 2 straight wins is a win streak. Reds return home this weekend. If anybody in the chat wants to go to those games this weekend, where's the best place to find tickets?
Yeah, absolutely. You want the Game Time app. Hopefully you can get down to the ballpark. I heard there's a little bit of water situation going on down in Cincinnati. Great thing about Game Time is if you're like me, you're a last-minute planner. You don't think ahead about getting tickets, and Game Time always has the best last-minute deals. That's probably my favorite part of it. The other things I really like about the Game Time app is they have all-in pricing. It shows you your total with fees before you check out, so you don't see the total and then go, oh, that looks really nice, and then you hit checkout, and you're like, oh, it's like actually quite a bit more than that, so I love that. Panoramic seat views in the app. You can really see the whole stadium and exactly where you're sitting. Event cancellation protection, automatic full refunds for events that are canceled and not rescheduled. And of course, as always, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So be sure to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code CBox for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CBox, CBOX, for $20 off your first purchase. Craig, what time is it?
It's game time, Nick. And don't forget, if you're worried about the rain, Game Time has the event cancellation protection, automatic full refunds for any events that are canceled and not rescheduled. So don't worry too much about the rain. All right, Nick, look, we talked about Nick Lodolo and this starting rotation and how good it's been all year. But this bullpen has really stepped up as well. It was a unit that I think a lot of people questioned coming into the year. And yet again tonight, Graham Ashcraft comes in, 2 innings pitched of really good baseball, no-run baseball, and then Emilio Pagan comes in, and while we're trying to figure out some technical issues, just doesn't even give us any sort of time to figure it out and nails down the coffin in just 7 pitches. So this bullpen's really stepped up and been more, I guess, better performing than I think really we expected at this point, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm going to turn you down just a tiny bit based on the chat. Can you talk, Craig? Say something. Say hello to the people.
Yeah, I see. Ned says I'm twice as loud as you, Nick.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
chat,
because I'm just that amped up.
Let us know if that's better. We're working through it. Okay. Look, the graphics look a lot prettier than what we were using last year. All right. This is an investment. All right. If you are a Chatterbox Reds fan, this is an investment. Look, it's rocky right now. We get it. But in September, when the Reds are in a playoff chase, do you want to see a crappy little StreamYard stream? No, you want to see the elite production that will get there. So you're investing right now. Chad, I hope that's better. I'm doing the best I can. Emilio,
and you know what, Nick?
Craig,
listen,
ahead.
if you don't like our technical issues, just tune in to the podcast version tomorrow morning. And I know you're going to be up until 3 or 4 in the morning, making that look great, putting together the clips from the post-game press conferences. You'll probably pull in some clips from the media availability this afternoon with some of the roster moves we'll talk about in a minute. So as always, just a little quick plug that we'll do again at the end of the show, but make sure you show Nick some love for the work that he puts into it and download the podcast tomorrow morning. Anyway, Ashcraft and Pagan.
Well, I'm just going to assume that Emilio Pagan threw the greatest outing in the history of baseball because I didn't see anything of it. But I will talk about Graham Ashcraft. Look, Craig, this was exactly what you were hoping for with Graham Ashcraft, like this 2-inning reliever that can give you the 7th and the 8th. I mean, this is literally like exactly what you kind of dreamed of with him the first time that you heard of him going to the bullpen. So, again, I don't expect it to be completely smooth sailing for Graham Ashcraft as a reliever, but the early returns on him can't be any better. Graham Ashcraft is the kind of pitcher that we had a lot of concerns about this bullpen coming into the year, and I think they were right concerns. If he's able to be like a dominant reliever that not only can give you 1 inning, but can give you multiple innings at times, it completely changes the whole complexion of this bullpen. So I think what Graham Ashcraft is doing right now is a huge deal for this team and really for this team's like overall health as a pitching staff going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it. 20 pitches in his 2 innings only out of Graham Ashcraft. And again, I mean, his cutter was up in velocity. His slider was right around average, actually up a little bit there too. He averages 96 miles an hour on his cutter. He was amped up tonight, 97.2, with a pretty good increase in his spin rate as well. Looks really good. And you said it. I mean, literally, Emilio Pagan, I very little insight into what happened, but what I can tell you is that he threw 7 pitches. They were all fastballs, and he got 3 fly ball outs. Like, I don't know that you can really ask for a whole lot more out of a closer in terms of just low stress outing. And we've talked about Alexis Diaz in the past. We talked about him earlier in the show. Like, I know that we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there, but if Emilio Pagan can continue to give you these low stress, 1-run inning, 1-run game type of performances, it's going to be really difficult for Tito to then go back to Alexis Diaz after he hasn't really proven anything to himself to Tito. So Emilio Pagan is in a really good position. He can almost win this closer battle before Alexis Diaz even gets back to the major league club.
Yeah, I mean, Pagan's been great. Again, didn't see it, but I mean, a 105 line out off the bat of Wilmer off of Matt Chapman. Pretty hard hit fly out from Wilmer Flores. I don't want to go too far overboard on Pagan, but it'll be an interesting decision with Diaz, Craig. And a lot of it's going to depend. They said Diaz is going to get 2 more games down with Louisville. I think he's with Louisville. I don't know. They're mixing things around. I heard Austin Hayes is going to Dayton now because of flooding in Louisville. So there's kind of been some shifts in that. But let's say Alexis Diaz does look really good the next 2 outings wherever he pitches. It's going to be a tough decision. And Craig, to be honest, I don't know if you can, I can't give you a definitive opinion. I could say, yeah, you know what? I would just say, just try Diaz again, see what he does. I can also listen to an argument that, you know what, just don't mess with Pagan. But I guess my biggest issue is, how does Alexis Diaz fit in if he's not the closer? And that's where I just kind of go, you're losing any value that you have out of him. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on this closer role right now? Because I don't know. It's a hard thing to really gauge what the Reds should do.
Well, I think what you've got right now is 2 guys in Graham Ashcraft and Emilio Pagan who have shown the ability to handle high pressure situations and get outs, right? So to come and immediately hand that over to Alexis Diaz after what we've seen in his rehab starts, he's still walking guys. From what we can tell, he's looking okay, but he's still walking guys. And that's been the biggest struggle for Alexis Diaz throughout his career, especially of the last 2 years. So I find it hard to believe that Tito is going to trust to throw Alexis Diaz into high pressure situations, knowing that there's that risk of putting guys on base without them earning it. And for me personally, there's different situations in the games where maybe it's going to make sense for Alexis Diaz to get that ball, but there's also going to be situations where it makes sense for Emilio Pagan to get that ball. I also think there's going to be situations where Graham Ashcraft becomes the guy that gets that ball. So
Santillan.
There's nothing, and Tony Santillan has obviously shown that Tito has his trust. There's nothing wrong with having multiple guys that you trust in the right situation. What might be the biggest challenge is that the 4 guys you trust are all righties. And so it's not going to be a closer by platoon kind of situation. I mean, it's just going to have to be who's healthy, who hasn't thrown in the last couple of days, or who hasn't extended their arm in the last couple of days. And is there any data with the upcoming batters that tell you who to go with over somebody else, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the nice part about this is that you've got 4 guys that you trust, and depending on the situation, you feel like you can put your team in the best situation to win. And that's everything that we've talked about, whether it's in the pitching or in position players, is that you've got to put your guys in the position to be successful. And so now Tito has 4 guys that he can rely on, seemingly, to put into high pressure situations based on who he thinks is going to be the best person in that specific situation. So whether that's Alexis Diaz one day, Santillan one day, Ashcraft one day, or Pagan one day, I don't know that I really care. I just have to have some sort of faith that Tito is going to make the right analytical decision to put the right guy into the right situation. And I'm going to feel good knowing that I have all of those guys at my disposal when I need them. Because you're going to have a game like today where it's a 1-0 game, or it's a close game, and maybe your pitcher only gives you 5 or 6 innings, and you're going to have your bullpen for 4 or 5 innings. And that's the type of situation where you're going to feel really good that you have those 4 guys that you can trust.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I've always been a big closer by committee guy, so you don't have to sell me on that. There was someone, it probably was Resin 4, who's about as connected to pitching as anything, but brought up a point about Tito's past, where his past closers were all guys that did not struggle walking guys. And Emilio Pagan has only walked 1 batter in 5 innings so far this year, so he certainly fits that mold. We'll see. Again, you worry about where does Diaz come in, and How many times did these things all somehow work themselves out? God forbid Pagan might blow a save tomorrow, and everyone has a whole different opinion on this whole thing, right?
But that's the thing, right? Is if somebody has a stretch where maybe they lose control or they don't necessarily have the same kind of stuff that they had in the past, you've got 3 other guys. So yeah, maybe that's the case, but at the same time, that's okay because you've got somebody that can pick it up, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, you want to get into supers first or the roster moves first?
Yeah, let's get a couple more supers just so I don't forget about them because it would be easy to do. Daniel Myers. We got 2 from Daniel Myers. First one was Fireball in all caps. I don't have anything down here, or I would for you. Do you have something, Craig?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. Daniel Myers also says, it sucks. Fraley got 2 hits tonight. He's scared of Billy Baseball. I don't know if it sucks, but he is scared of Billy Baseball. William Buchanan Benson, that is who we're talking about. And then Ned Flanders again. I think we know the secret to making the playoffs this year. Play every game at Oracle Park. This team might be built for Oracle Park. Maybe not the defense completely. That might be a little bit of a problem in a ballpark like that. But you did to play pretty good defense. Reds maybe caught a couple breaks with a couple defensive plays today. But yeah, like Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo in this ballpark. God, their numbers would just be incredible at the end of the year.
Yeah, that ball, I looked it up. That ball that Young-Hoo Lee hit last night off of Hunter Greene late in the game was a home run in like 19 of 30 ballparks, I think it was. So that's a big ballpark for that ball to be caught, not even on the warning track. But yeah, that's a big outfield to be roaming. Again, we mentioned Jake Fraley's diving catch earlier in the game. That really kind of helped solidify that 1-0 run, because without that, a run would have scored and they would have had another run in scoring position. That was a huge play there in the 5th inning by Jake Fraley, kind of running back to his right, jumping and diving and being able to make that catch on the warning track and at the wall. Casey Schmidt was on third base in that scenario, and certainly Heliot Ramos would have been in scoring position if he hadn't come up with that. So have to tip your cap to Jake Fraley for that play. But the truth of the matter is that now this Reds team made some moves today that may threaten Jake Fraley's place on this roster. And we don't know exactly what the ramifications of this are going to be, but Matt McLain was placed on the injured list. That was retroactive to April 5th. They are saying that with the 10-day stint on the IL, he could be back and only miss, 5 or 6 games, I think they said, with off days and everything else. Will Benson was recalled from AAA along with Noelvi Marte. And then Carson Spires was optioned down to AAA Louisville. It was reported during the broadcast today that Andrew Abbott will make his first start of the season on Saturday for the Reds. Let's start, since we're already talking about it, let's start with Will Benson and Jake Fraley, and kind of why you think this move was made today, knowing a couple of things. One is that the Reds are on the West Coast. They, Jake Fraley has struggled, certainly. But did you feel like Will Benson had just played his way back onto this major league roster and left the Reds without an option? Or what's your takeaway from them bringing Will Benson back at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think you just looked up and thought Will Benson can just help this team clearly. I think that's why he's back. There also was a situation we got to remember where Jake Fraley was scratched on Monday. And if you're in San Francisco, you can't really just, let's wait and see how he feels on Tuesday morning. So you kind of had to just have some sense of urgency to get these guys across the country. We talked, me and Trace talked yesterday about how just find a way to get it done, which, yes, I agree. But there also is some pretty tough logistics when you're in San Francisco. Fraley was scratched with left side pain on Monday. So my gut tells me Will Benson's here to stay. I don't I think that they're calling him up, and I think that they're going to find a way to get him in the lineup. My gut tells me that Noelvi Marte is just here for a couple of days. The Reds now have 14 position players and 12 pitchers. There's really no team in baseball that goes any sort of stretch with only 12 pitchers. You're only allowed to have 13 for a reason, and every team tries to maximize that. But when you had Hunter Greene, go 8 2/3 innings on Monday, you have an off day on Thursday, it kind of felt like you could have an extra position player. But I guess with Marte, I would have a hard time with him getting called up for a significant stretch, just because I feel like you wanted to give him some time to get going. Now, if they're calling Noelvi Marte up for 2 days, just because they had an extra roster spot, they have some injuries, they wanted some flexibility, and they told him, we're calling you up, we're going to send you right back down, then I totally think that's a fine move. If they're calling him up for him to stay up, I don't know if I agree with that. But, I mean, you kind of look at this roster, and there aren't really a lot of infielders, especially with Spencer Steer not being able to play the field. So, I don't know. I would think that, your roster is Gavin Lux at second base. It took Gavin Lux a whole, 9 games to become the second baseman. I mean, we're so worried about him playing in left field, and, well, sure enough, him kind of being the protection for McLean. Unfortunately, he's already there playing second base every day, his natural position. So I think Noelvi Marte gets sent back down on Friday. That was my gut reaction. But now the more I kind of look at this roster, I don't know, maybe there is a path. And I guess a lot of it depends also, Craig, my long-winded way of wrapping this up, is where do the Reds feel like Jeimer Candelario is at? That's maybe the biggest key to all of this. Everyone is fed up with Jeimer Candelario. I don't blame anyone, but we did see this exact same thing with Jeimer Candelario last April, where he looked absolutely atrocious, and then in the months of May and June, he was incredible. And he has been a slow starter throughout his entire career. Wasn't just last year. So, I don't know. What do you make of all this, Craig?
Well, something's got to happen with Jeimer Candelario for sure. I mean, we saw this out of him last year, and we can obviously look at stats and we can certainly talk about what we saw out of him last year. But, historically, like you mentioned, April is not a good month for Jeimer Candelario. Career OPS in April is 658. Every other month is above 700. So it's one of those things where, how much can you wait it out though? Because this team already, even despite the good starting pitching, is still sitting in a position with a losing record when, if they had a little bit more offense, maybe that wouldn't be the case. And I think ultimately they have to find that spark, right? So I thought that they probably could have just brought up Will Benson and hoped that he provided that spark by himself. But I guess realistically at this point, if you're the Reds front office, you need every opportunity to provide a spark that you can. My struggle is that I kind of wanted Noelvi Marte to sit down in Louisville and just pound AAA pitching for months. Realistically, I would have been completely happy if Noelvi Marte wasn't back on this team until after the All-Star break. But I think with, as you mentioned, Steer not being able to really play the field and then Matt McLean going on the IL today, you were left in a position where you really only had 5 infielders, CES, Lux, Elly, obviously Candelario, and then Santiago Espinal. So you kind of needed another body defensively. We ran into a position yesterday where I know you and Trace talked about it, where Gavin Lux ends up hitting in the 8th inning with 2 men on and 2 outs against a left-handed pitcher. But at least from the reports I saw, Santiago Espinal was the only healthy and available bench player outside of Jose Trevino. So if you did decide to pinch hit there for Gavin Lux with Santiago Espinal, your bench was depleted and you were done. So in a close game like that, you're in a situation where I don't know that I can afford to be in that position and have to worry about going to extra innings and not have anybody left on my bench. So you bring up Noelvi Marte, and now you have that extra guy on your bench who can play defense, can also bat, obviously. And quite frankly, he was hitting 353 with a 954 OPS at AAA so far this year. And I realize it's a small sample size, but it is what it is. You follow it a lot closer than I have. No home runs for him yet this year, but everything I've seen is that he's been hitting the ball hard still. A lot of really high exit velocities, a lot of 100+ mile an hour doubles, just hasn't necessarily left the ballpark. So I don't know, maybe him and Will Benson did enough work over spring training and into the beginning of this season that Tito in this front office felt comfortable enough to bring him up. And maybe the plan was to let him stay down there and he just continued to improve and kind of force the hand. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. I mean, ultimately from my perspective is I'd much rather be in a position where a player forces my hand to make a decision like that versus the opposite, where I don't have somebody that I believe in that I can bring up, or, you know, you have a guy like Jeimer Candelario where you don't have any option but to just let him linger and not perform on the major league roster. So the worst thing that can happen is that he struggles for a week or two and they send him back to Louisville, right? I mean, or maybe for 2 days in your case.
Yeah, I'm kind of caught in between here because like I didn't really I think I agree with you. Like I think you let Noelvi Marte just go down to AAA and just work and have a long stretch of success. But at the same time, I'm happy they had a sense of urgency here. Like it was clearly a moment where you needed to have some sense of urgency, and they did do that. So it's kind of like, yeah, like Will Benson needs to be in this lineup.
Well, I mean, as a fan base, we've been clamoring for more offense, right? And I don't think anybody, as much as we've been saying it on social media and elsewhere, I don't think anybody really believed that they were going to go out and sign JD Martinez or somebody else to come in and add an offensive spark. It has to come from within. Last year, I think I saw on X.com today that the first move this front office made last year wasn't until May 7th. So the fact that they aren't waiting like they did last year and struggling for all of April before they make that move is a good sign to me.
Yeah, I'd love the Reds still to go sign JD Martinez, but even if you did sign JD Martinez, you're not putting him on the roster tomorrow. He's going to go on some sort of like rehab extended spring training. He's not going to be able to help you for at least a week or two. I think that's what happened last year. I actually remember watching JD Martinez take at bats against the Daytona Tortugas right after he got signed. Shout out to you, Daytona. But Will Benson needs to be in this lineup every day. I mean, the Reds have still, as exciting as the last 2 days have been, the Reds have scored 2 runs or less in 7 of the last 8 games. So they still need more offense. And Will Benson is absolutely a guy that can be a spark. I think that you could make a case right now that you put Benson in Dunn's spot, and you could kind of run out the same lineup. Obviously, against right-handed pitching, you still would play Blake Dunn every day against left-handed pitching. I personally still, even after the nice day today from Jake Fraley, I still would have sent him down, but it seems like the Reds are going to give him a longer run. I hope that they're right on that. I don't have a lot of confidence in that, but I can at least understand that. But you could still have Jake Fraley in the lineup and have Will Benson in the lineup every day. Benson just absolutely dominated at AAA, was hitting the ball incredibly hard, had good at-bats. His swing looks a lot smoother, looks a lot more compact. He deserved a chance, and you need to throw him in the lineup. Noelvi Marte, personally, I'd rather send him down and let him get that extended period of success. But I'm also not going to sit here and cry about it either, because I still think I still can squint and say that Noelvi Marte is still probably one of the Reds' best options out of 9 guys to put in the lineup every day.
Yeah, well, look, along with that move, the Reds, as we mentioned, optioned Carson Spires to AAA. As I said before, Andrew Abbott will be making his major league debut on Saturday for the Reds. There's going to have to be a corresponding move in order to bring Andrew Abbott onto this active roster. So the question is, now that we've talked through this a little bit, where do you sit today if you're Nick Krall as it pertains to the corresponding move on Saturday for Andrew Abbott?
I mean, I think that the choice is, I think it's probably Marte. That's my gut, unless they just say we want another infielder. And then I think if it's not, I think it's probably Jacob Hurtubise is probably the odd man out. And Hurtubise hasn't really done anything to deserve it. He just would kind of be the odd man out here. It better not be Will Benson. It better not be. I don't see them doing that to Will Benson, kind of given where he's at in his career. Like Noelvi Marte, it could very much be like, hey, we're going to just bring you over for 2 days. You know, we need you. You're on the 40-man roster. The other options would be Rhys Hines. You certainly don't need another outfielder, right? And especially a right-handed outfielder. There just wouldn't have been a spot for him. And then the other one would be Tyler Callahan. And I don't think you really want to put Tyler Callahan in a situation where you have him make his major league debut in a one game. Like, you probably want him to get a chance to, like, when he does get called up, have some sort of a run. So Noelvi Marte just kind of was the most reasonable option based on your looking at your 40-man roster. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Marte. If it's not Marte, my guess would be Hurtubise, unless there's another injury somewhere that we don't know about. That's always a possibility too. Craig, there could be one of these players that's dealing with some sort of injury that we don't know about. We've seen that happen before where they call someone up and the guy that gets put on the IL was the guy that we didn't know had an injury that kind of was battling through it. Does Jeimer Candelario have an undisclosed injury right now? That's a possibility. They're not going to disclose that kind of stuff because they don't want to have the opponent know that and be able to exploit the weakness, which I know when you say about Candelario right now, you get all the jokes. You can make all the jokes about it, but it is true.
Well, I mean, if we would have been having this conversation 3 or 4 days ago, the conversation might have been Spencer Steer goes on the IL. Yeah. And that was your corresponding move. So that's the thing. A lot of things can change. We'll certainly monitor that. And Nick and Trace, when they're live on Saturday after the game, we'll certainly be breaking down whatever that move happens to be. Look, real quick before we move on, I just want to acknowledge again, it's 12:40 in the morning on the East Coast, and there's 425 of you knuckleheads watching us still. We really do appreciate it. We're getting to a part of the show now where numbers sometimes drop off. So before they do, I just wanted to acknowledge you all and say thank you for watching. And that's not a knock on Nick. It's just the truth of the matter is that sometimes people don't want to watch the MILB. So
how dare you?
I love the MILB and I love hearing about what's going on, even though I'm the one that updated the graphic today.
You did a fantastic job, Craig. And
then you changed it. That's not even the right score. Come on, man. Who did that?
See, this is the issue because I changed it like changed back if we both do it. So we got to figure that out, but oh well. All right. We'll start off with AAA. Louisville. They beat Indianapolis 4-2. Nice start from Chase Petty. He bounced back. He had a really tough start his first time out, but threw the ball well. 4 innings. They gave up 6 hits, but only 1 run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 6 whiffs, 12 called strikes. Fastball up at 97.8. Also, shout out to Sam Ben Schuster. 3 really good innings from him. 3 innings, just 1 hit. No walks, 4 strikeouts. A guy that maybe could provide some depth at some point for the Reds this year. Tyler Callahan, 0 for 3 with a walk. Avon Johnson on base twice, 1 for 3 with a walk. And then Rhys Hines was 1 for 4. All right, down to AA Chattanooga. The Lookouts fall 6-3 to Birmingham. Lookouts now 1-2 on the season. Sal Stewart, 1 for 4, did steal a base, his 3rd of the season. Not a whole lot else than that. Hector Rodriguez 0 for 3 with a walk. Ethan O'Donnell also 0 for 3 with a walk. Austin Hendrick, though. Shout out to Austin Hendrick. He was on base twice, 1 for 3 with a walk. And then the sad news of the day, Edwin Arroyo placed on the IL with a left hamstring strain. Arroyo, your Reds' number 5 ranked prospect. And then to the portion of the bullpens blowing the game in the minor leagues. The Dayton Dragons, they fell 8-4 to Fort Wayne. The Dragons had a 4-2 lead entering the 7th, but the bullpen gave up 7 runs. Dragons have started 0-4. But the really good story, this one was Nestor Laurent, Reds 2024 minor league pitcher of the year. His high A debut could not have gone much better. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He doesn't throw hard, but man, his curveball and his slider are nasty. He had a strikeout on his curveball. I don't know if I've ever seen a swing look uglier on a curveball that was actually in the strike zone. Really good stuff from Nestor Laurent. Also a good day from Ricardo Cabrera. He's the top hitting prospect down at Daytona. He was 2 for 4. Yerlin Confidon walked twice and stole a base. And then Ariel Almonte hit his first home run at the high A level. And then the bullpen that really blew it, the Daytona Tortugas. They led 7-0 going into the 8th inning, but their bullpen gave up 8 runs in the 9th. They lose 8-7. Tough one for them. But again, another great starting pitching effort in this one. Luke Holman, this was his professional debut. Reds 2024 competitive balance pick, number 71 overall. He's the Reds' number 14 ranked prospect. Looked great. 4 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Great stuff from him. LSU product, so we're excited to see what he can do. Sammy Stafuro, 1 for 4 with the walk. Alfredo Duno, 1 for 4 with a walk as well. That is your Reds MILB.
Reds MILB. There it was. Sorry, I was trying to get I did it, so we're gonna use it. Luke Holman deserves to have the correct stats on the graphic, so I went ahead and threw those in there. Shout out to Luke Holman on your professional debut. Appreciate you, and congrats on your debut. Sorry. Nick, I did forget to ask you about one thing, and want to get your take on it real quick if I can. And that was the decision to bunt Jose Trevino in the 5th.
Oh, God.
So I don't know if that response is, oh, God, I don't want to talk about it, or go, oh, God, I hated that decision. But look, Spencer Steer doubles, ground rule double, advances to third on a Jake Fraley bloop single. And then they decide to have Jose Trevino, who just hit a ball 107 miles an hour in his last at bat, is slugging 907, or has an OPS of 907 on the year, and they run a safety squeeze. And granted, I will 100% tip my cap to Sam Huff, who made a fantastic play at first base, gunning down Spencer Steer at the plate. So I want to start with acknowledging that it was a great play, could have or should have worked. Sam Huff made a great play. But did you like that decision in that moment? They're up 1-0, 2 men on.
First off, what Jose Trevino has done this year, I don't put any stock in. Like, he's not a good hitter.
Of course you don't.
Okay, I love Jose Trevino. He's a great defensive catcher, but I put 0 stock in what the guy's done to this point. There's a whole baseball reference page on him that tells otherwise. I don't know. I mean, I don't really mind him like sack bunting, but in that spot with the runner on third, I don't know. I feel like I probably would swing away. I don't hate it. I know there was a lot of people that were just like absolutely disgusted. I wasn't disgusted. I was just kind of annoyed. Is that's kind of where I was at. I didn't love it, but I wasn't like, throwing my water bottle across the room mad like I've been at some decisions.
Here's my thing, is that for a team who has struggled to score runs, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Where you are trying to claw your way to score any runs you can because it's been so difficult. But also, it's a rally killer. And that's my struggle, right? Is you have to balance, okay, we've scored whatever it was, X number of runs, 4 runs in the last 3 games. But also, we've got 2 men on with a guy who's hit the ball hard so far this year and only 1 out and the lead. And so that felt like one of those situations for me where it kind of just dampened everything, and then TJ Friedl comes up and flies out, and it doesn't matter, and you leave that guy stranded at third. So we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just wanted to get your real quick opinion on that, and then also want to real quick shout out Blake Dunn, 3-game hitting streak for the young man. He's looked serviceable, I guess is the right word, so far here early on in 2025. Reds, go ahead.
Real quick. I think, in that spot, Fraley had stole a base earlier in the game, I believe, already. I think he'd already stolen a base. Maybe why not try a hit and run there? I feel like that maybe would be a better thought in that spot, because it just feels like you let the pitcher off the hook that was kind of, maybe Roupp a little bit on the ropes at that point. But again, it is one of those plays that if the bunt's a foot to the right or a foot to the left and the throw's not perfect, we're not even talking about it. So I don't want to go too far overboard on that, because if it had been successful, no one's complaining about it. And that's kind of my biggest gripe a lot of times with a lot of these decisions, is I try not to be a prisoner of the moment on it. I don't know. It was one of those things. It is what it is. I probably would have preferred a hit and run, though.
All right. That's valid. Reds and Giants back in action tomorrow, wrapping up the series. Afternoon game, Nick, tell us all about it.
Reds going for a sweep. How about that? They've scored 3 runs, and they're going for a sweep. That's incredible. All right, Justin Verlander on the mound. Reds, one of their probably better days offensively. Today doesn't look as good as I thought it did. Earlier this year, series number 1, 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts for Verlander. I think Red jumped on him earlier, and then he settled in. Verlander's second start really did not go well against the Mariners. He did not make it through 3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 runs in that one. Verlander, of course, signed a 1-year, $15 million deal in January with the Giants. But yeah, he only made 5 career starts against the Reds, 4.25 ERA. Candelario, though, 3 for 10 with a home run. So does he get off the side? You know who else has home runs against him? Santiago Espinal, and on my sheet here, Matt McClain. That makes me sad. All right, for the Reds, Nick Martinez. His start against the Giants was, I think, the opposite of Verlander. Was really dominant early. I think he had a perfect game, if I remember, through like the first 4 innings, and then gave up, I think, 3 runs. I think he gave a 3-run home run in that one. And then the last time out, it was kind of the same story. Not as effective against the Brewers. Pretty good early, not as much after. And so far, very, very small sample. First time through the order for Martinez this year, 118 batting average against. Second time, 188. Third time, 500. So it's definitely been a case of when the batters have seen Martinez a couple times through, he struggled. But Nick Martinez, great numbers against the active Giants. They're just 11 for 69. That is a .59 average. Nice. OPS under 600. Willy Adames is just 2 for 11, does have a homer. Matt Chapman, 2 for 11, does have a homer. And then Helio Ramos, 1 for 4 with a homer. But Lamont Wade Jr. is just 2 for 9. Wilmer Flores is 0 for 6. So, Craig, let's get a sweep. That'd be incredible.
Let's get a sweep. Nick Martinez, again, like you said, really good first 4 innings, blew up at the end. Let's see if he can put together a complete outing. First pitch, 3:45 Eastern. Nick and I will be live afterwards to break it all down, as always. But if you can't wait until then, well, no promises. We'll try. We'll try. But if you can't wait till then, make sure you check out the Chatterbox Reds pregame show beforehand at 2:30. That'll be good. Who's on it tomorrow, Nick? Do you have it handy?
Am I supposed to remember these things? I'm
not going to lie. You just did that, and I 100% thought it was our outro music, and I was like, damn, you just brushing it off.
All right, well, since you put me on the spot, I got to look it up here. It's who is on tomorrow?
It's Hunter and Max.
Okay, well, I mean, why do you ask me when you beat me to stuff? I mean, like, come on.
You didn't know, so I pulled it up.
Well, I was trying to pull it up.
Listen, Nick. It's not my fault that I'm faster than you.
Okay, I got 80,000 tabs open right now, Craig.
And I don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's see if I help you with the graphics again tomorrow. Nick and I will be live in the 9th, maybe muted, maybe not. We got some rituals to do. You want to do it together?
You're going to have to do. I have no idea where it is, man. It's you.
Right, I went and got it when you were doing the who, what, when, where, why, how, all that stuff. So I'll do the Nick Cage for tonight. Shout out to Nick Cage. Shout out to Andrea for the pillow. Shout out to 316 of you still watching at 12:53 a.m. on the East Coast. We sincerely appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like the stream, share it, follow, subscribe, join Nutkitter Nation, all of that. I think we got all the super chats, but if we missed anybody, we apologize. We do appreciate you all. Let's see if Nick knows how to run the outro music or if I need to do it myself. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking for
I think we had
minutes.
one more. I think we had one more. Ned Flanders, did I mention I hate the Cubs? I think that was a fresh one. So shout out to you, Ned. Yeah, we all hate the Cubs. I have a take on that, but I'm going to save it for another day. I have a take on the NL Central, but when it's not almost 1 a.m., I'll save it. So, all right.
Well,
how do I do the outro?
I literally was just looking for it to see if I could run it from Singular.
Yo, no, you can't run it from here.
All right, perfect. I'm glad it wasn't just me then. In that case, look, bang. No off the bench tomorrow. Outro's over.
It's supposed to replay.
This show's going great. This show's going great. Make sure you tune in for the Nuxall Classic tomorrow afternoon. Chatterbox broadcasting the 2 games tomorrow from Prasco Park in Mason. Admission is free if you want to go check it out. Some college baseball in Mason. Should be a good time. We'll check it out on YouTube on Chatterbox Sports. Be sure to check us out on social media. Chatterbox Bearcats holding it down with a lot of news over the last couple of days. But we appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, for Nick Kirby, I'm Craig Sandlin. This has been the Chatterbox Reds. Let's go, Reds. Athlete.